What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to the Down to the Wire podcast. I'm your host, Brian Costa, and today we have a very special episode for you guys. As you guys can see, I have, multiple hosts on the show today. I got my guest host in studio in the basement with me, Pat Edwards. Pat, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, Brian. How are you?
Doing pretty well. And if you guys are watching this on YouTube, you can also see that I have host of the Pesky Poll podcast. We've been now collaborating for a good couple episodes. I just recently was on his show doing an interview with Red Sox minor leaguer Will Dalton. Apparently, is now his most watched episode of the Pesky Poll podcast so far. So, without any further ado, welcome into the show, Robert Shelley. Rob, how we doing, man?
I got a question. Is it a very special episode if you say that for every single episode?
Rob, I gotta just say to you, man.
I already got a hate on you right from the jump.
You're ruining my vibe, Rob.
You don't have an
Come
intro. I can ruin your vibe all I want.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry I don't have the funds to pay someone to do an intro for me.
I did my own, and it's pretty damn good.
You did your own intro?
Yes.
Yeah, and you got to help me with mine.
You have the funds to pay for all these guests.
Yeah.
You do this for free.
Well, I did this for free.
Yeah.
Now that I said it on air, you have to give me money.
None of us get paid. Do you got any sponsorships that I can leech off of?
Unfortunately, I don't. But before we do get into anything, Rob, do you want to shout out your personal social medias?
Yep. So you can follow me on Instagram at Pesky Poll Podcast. I know these two already do, and you can catch me on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, and Google Play, along with a couple other weird kind of podcast networks out there that I didn't even know I had. But all that you can find with the name Pesky Poll Podcast. If I do say so myself, a very catchy name.
Same here, and obviously, unfortunately for our Apple Music gang, we do not have one because we're not on Apple Music. So you can follow us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube as well. Once again, the main hub that you can find all that stuff through is our Instagram. You can follow that at down.tothewire. Again, at down.tothewire. So without any further ado, I think it's fair to say that we get right into the swing of things here. And Rob, I'm glad to have you back on the show because, obviously you're a big baseball guy, as is Pat here. I was originally going to start the show off talking about golf, but after the story came out, I think it is pretty important to talk about. This could be, I think, rather game breaking for the game of baseball. And it comes after a report comes out that, the bringer of rain himself, Josh Donaldson, might be bringing the hammer down on Major League Baseball and on a bunch of pitchers. It's being reported now that he is looking into releasing a catalog full of all the pitchers throughout Major League Baseball right now who are currently using illegal substances in an attempt to basically try to, kind of blow the lid off this thing. What are your thoughts on this so far?
I got kind of two different sides of it. First, you want to play the game as fair as possible. Everybody should be playing the game underneath the rules. It's how we can offer a fair playing field. We don't want anybody to have an upper advantage, nothing like that. But at the same time, if I'm Josh Donaldson, I'm keeping that to myself. All right, that's asking for a 99 mile an hour straight to the dome.
Really?
Easily. Because
I understand the sentiment, but I don't know why you wouldn't leak it. I don't know why you're advertising that you're doing this.
True. Either.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, go ahead.
Either A, he's gonna just like either this just a farce and he's gonna say, oh, I'm gonna drop all this information, and he never does, or he's just stupid and is gonna do that, because at that point you're gonna get a lot of really bad text messages from a lot of different players.
Yeah, I mean, you are kind of backing yourself into a corner, and you do set yourself up for a bad situation. But I mean, you're looking at this whole thing right now, and if he's saying, I kind of some context for this. I follow this guy on TikTok, and he kind of goes through a bunch of pitchers right now in baseball who he believes are using illegal substances. It includes guys from the likes of Garrett Cole all the way to John Means, who recently just threw a no hitter, and he's accusing him of using illegal substances during that no hitter. I'm actually going to be trying to get him on the show, I think, relatively soon. But from what I've heard from these guys, it's pretty extensive throughout the game of baseball. And, apparently the substances that they're using, it's allowing you to gain like massive amount of RPM on your pitches and like basically, making your pitches more unhittable than we've seen in baseball. this guy that I've talked to, he believes it's the reason that the strikeout rate in baseball is going through the roof, that the hit by pitch rate in baseball is going up. So I think if you're Josh Donaldson, I think that, as a hitter, it's, while it isn't the best idea for him to be putting his name on it, the idea of leaking it to me probably wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. At least to tip off baseball about it and just say like, hey, this is happening, because it is impacting his ability to play the game at what he would deem a fair level.
Mm-hmm.
I also think what's further is putting your reputation on the line now.
Yeah.
Not only are you asking to get hit if you say a certain pitcher did it, but if this is a flop and all you're going to come out and do is say the same things that what these guys on TikTok have already said,
yeah,
or what Trevor Bauer's already said, you can't come out and say, oh, Garrett Cole's cheating. A million people have already said that.
Yeah.
So if you say, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to expose all these people, now you're asking to get hit. And if you come out and just fluff out the story of a few guys we already know, or, oh, I saw this guy do this on, game clips.
Yeah,
when
exactly.
I was reviewing it. I can't actually prove it. He's been on a few teams, but how's he going to look at me and say that anybody in the Red Sox clubhouse has cheated?
Yeah.
He's never been on the Red Sox. He doesn't know for sure unless he has actual
footage that the average fan wouldn't have.
Yeah, we're going to need evidence.
The chances that you're putting a reputation on the line is so big right now, because it could either actually hurt you, or
physically.
it could hurt your reputation.
Yeah, here's the thing. I feel like this could be huge for baseball, because I think that, like you're saying, this could go one of two ways. This could either be a total flop and it's just like, hey, he just tried to release something and there's really nothing to it. But do you think that if this becomes a big enough thing, that this could, be like another like steroid era kind of type of investigation for baseball? Do you think that could prompt like that sort of a response, or do you think that this thing will probably just get overlooked?
I think if we have substantial evidence, it will be definitely looked at of something big, because we're having one of the lowest batting average rates in the past, 20, 30 years, I think.
It's pretty dramatic, yeah.
Something like that. Like the best team in the league right now is batting, I think, at 267. I think that's the Astros. That's right crazy. Now. The Red Sox are 260, and they're second, last I checked. Back in 2004, the Red Sox had a team average of 286, and they weren't even top 5 in the league.
That's insane.
The numbers have gone down. Just insane.
In the year of the pitcher, it was led by Bob Gibson. Bob Gibson's in the Hall of Fame. Bob Gibson is one of the best pitchers of all time, and nobody debates that. Mm-hmm. And it would be a damn shame if the second year of the pitcher, all of a sudden it's led by guys like Trevor Bauer or Yu Darvish or Garrett Cole. And I don't mean to put those guys out and say that they're the ones cheating, but it would be a shame to have all these guys that all of a sudden are huge stars and they're pitching great. You said Johnny Means threw a no-hitter, and all of a sudden we look back, and if even one of them was cheating, the blemish that would be on how good the pitchers are doing. If you put a stop to it, it's probably better for baseball to figure out how to fix this. But the pitchers are dominating this year. And if there's a blemish on it, that's just going to be so, so sad.
Yeah, no, I'd have to agree with you, because, throughout baseball this year, how many no-hitters have there been? Is it like 10?
7?
6. Okay, yeah. It's been remarkable, the amount of no-hitters we've seen. I've been able to witness 3 no-hitters, which, obviously through like the MLB.com app and like through things like that, when you get the notifications of it. And like when people were like having the no-hitters at the beginning of the year, and I didn't have the app downloaded, I was like, now I probably won't get another no-hitter notification till like, July or September, maybe is like when one gets serious, or maybe when somebody throws it. But, like a week later, I'm getting notifications that John Means is about to throw a no-hitter, and I go in and I see him do it. And you're seeing guys get no-hitters this year at a record pace. It's remarkable how many no-hitters have been thrown, and it's still only May. It's not even Memorial Day yet, even though it's going to be, this weekend. And it's just insane, because typically maybe you see like 1-2 no-hitters a year, and it's like, all right, that was a pretty decent year for no-hitters. But the amount that you've seen this year, like you think of guys like Wade Miley, Corey Kluber had a no-hitter. And if it turns out that it's all for naught, that could be, all the success that they've had this year, for it to become that it's just all a result of illegal substance, that would be killer for baseball. And, I wouldn't want to say that's the nail in the coffin for baseball, but that's going to be that's definitely going to be another harsh blow as the sport has already faced tremendous blowback and just, terrible turmoil.
And it would need to be handled well. It's not like the first scandal that we've had in the past 5 years. Every baseball or not, everybody is satisfied with the way it was handled. Somebody's got to be punished if somebody's cheating, and we don't have a very good track record of doing that.
Yeah, we can't have another Houston Astros situation where they come out and they just simply say, well, because so many people are doing it, we can't really figure something out. Now, I think it would be handled differently than an Astros situation because, when it was with the Astros, it was, the organization. And, while I didn't agree with the idea of not suspending any players, it was the idea that, hey, this is an organization. We're going to handle it as just this one organization. Now, while I do think maybe guys should have been suspended, like there is maybe some reasoning behind it. But with this, if it becomes decent enough where, there's proof, there has to be some level of punishment for it.
Here's the thing.
Just because of how widespread it is.
Yeah. We can't see the MLB start to turn into an organization like the NBA who will let LeBron James break COVID protocol to go to a club and then do absolutely nothing about it. While some other players, if you're not an all-star, you do that, you're suspended for 2 weeks because of quarantine.
Yeah. COVID protocols. Exactly. Yeah, no, we can't make it where certain guys are getting special privileges over others. If it turns out that Garrett Cole is doing this, which, I mean,
it seems like everybody thinks he is, and I don't know if Garrett Cole is known for being the nicest guy in the world, which just makes more people want to say that he's doing it.
Yeah.
We don't know anything yet, but it seems that everybody's list has him on it.
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, if it turns out that Garrett Cole is it, yeah. Oh, go ahead, Robert.
They had the report come out about Garrett Cole and a bunch of other guys back in like January-ish saying that they were hooking up with that one dude to get him some special stuff. So
that's the guy that Bauer's always gone against.
But it was confirmed.
And I think there's more validity to Bauer going against it because Bauer and Cole were teammates at UCLA.
Yeah, and Bauer just hates everybody and everything. He's basically a less radical Zach Greinke.
Here's the thing when it comes to Bauer, I've been pretty supportive of him and stuff like that too. I think that what Bauer brings to baseball is pretty good, but I think that, you do have to be cautious of this whole thing and realize that, hey, he might even be using this stuff too, which I think he even came out and, I think he even said, hey, if I was to use this stuff, I could go out and I could win a Cy Young. And he went out and he won a Cy Young last year.
That's part of what worries me too, though. This guy just won a Cy Young, and he vlogged it the entire time. And he's been waging a war on the MLB to let him vlog more. Is there a better way to grow a brand? Not even his brand, but just the MLB. Let's give guys insights of the clubhouse. All of a sudden, Trevor Bauer's this likable guy, and he's this internet personality. We've seen how well TikTok has done with internet personalities. This is a way that baseball could be the frontier. The NBA isn't doing it. The NFL isn't doing it. And Bauer is. That's so good for baseball. But if Bauer cheats, that sets us back so much. All of a sudden, he won the Cy Young the year he did this, and it's a perfect storyline. That's what worries me the most. If
here's the thing, though,
if he was cheating the entire time doing that, he can't be the face anymore.
Here's the thing, I don't trust the MLB to be really good at marketing their players, and just look at how they've marketed Mike Trout for the past 8 years. It's been pathetic. They don't know how to market the guys that need to be marketed. I mean, the second that Shohei Ohtani comes along, they start marketing him, but they've left Mike Trout in the dust for the past 8-9 years. They're terrible at marketing.
And I saw something earlier. I think I sent it to John, not you.
Yeah.
But they had this whole thing, and it was the lowest batting average against any certain pitch that any pitcher throws. And Shohei Ohtani was the guy who, had he was pitching. It was his picture on it. He was ranked 4th. Carlos Rodon was ranked 1st with an average that was half of what Ohtani's pitch was. But Ohtani was the face of it. Why aren't you marketing Rodon? The guy's filthy. His average was 0.017 against that pitch. That's filth. He's thrown one of the no-hitters this year. Ohtani is a two-way player. You can compare him to Babe Ruth, and it's very cool. But I don't understand how Carlos Rodon wasn't the guy on the infographic. I don't understand how they market people. Mike Trout isn't the most interesting guy in the world, but he is probably the best baseball player we've seen this century so far, except maybe Albert Pujols, who hasn't exactly been marketed well as his teammate. Trevor Bauer's finally marketing for himself, and I really hope that he isn't going to blemish his reputation since he's finally making a face for somebody.
Yeah,
because the MLB isn't going to do it.
And by the way, one of the funny things.
So I mean, there's obviously
one of the funny things I saw about Ohtani was the MLB posted, and they said Shohei Ohtani just threw 88 pitches on the mound and then went out to play right field. And somebody in the comments said, "Yeah, I did that when I was 13 years old." Let's talk about something else. I mean, they're not wrong.
Just
that's actually really true.
But it's the fixation on these few guys. Not that Shohei Ohtani doesn't deserve it, but there are all these other guys.
I mean, look at how the NBA is able to market guys. Like they're able to market like the third best player on the Suns.
Shohei Ohtani is getting the recognition he deserves. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is getting the recognition he deserves.
Finally.
When was the last thing you saw anything about Nick Castellanos? And he's got more hits than both of them. But he's on the Reds, so a small market team, and he's not a favorite son of the MLB. So you don't hear anything about him. That's an interesting guy. That's a character. And that's a guy who's going to be in the MVP voting at the end of the year if he keeps this pace up. So why has nobody heard about Nick Castellanos?
Because MLB doesn't care about their small markets. They never will. And that's why whenever I see a small market team, even if it's an AL East team, make a run at the championship, I'm always happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the comparable thing for me is, can you name any Bengals players? Yes, you can. Joe Burrow, who rightfully so is marketed. So why aren't we marketing Nick Castellanos? The only guy who's ever been marketed at Cincinnati is Joey Votto every once in a while, and Trevor Bauer, who did it all himself.
And he did that in the span of a year. That was it.
But let's be honest. Who in the hell wants to live in Cincinnati?
Fair.
I'd like to live in Cincinnati if I was a Reds player in the 70s. But that's the thing. You don't market it.
Yeah.
They don't have anything coming in.
Mm-hmm.
No, just imagine how Milwaukee feels. Oh.
Hey, he's a Green Bay Packer fan. He's a Red Sox fan.
Okay.
Go Brewers.
First of all, that's gross. Second of all, he needs a hug. All right, because the Packers have given him all the hope in the world and let him down constantly. It's like the Celtics over the past 5 years. That man needs a hug.
He understands it.
And
our team is 95% Aaron Rodgers. And everybody always gets mad at me like, no, this is going to end in 2 years maximum. It could end now. It could end in 2 days.
Yeah.
It can, yeah. You could wake up tomorrow morning and Aaron Rodgers will be a part of the Broncos.
Who knows?
It's not a fun life living in football hell.
Hey,
it's okay. At least I'm not a Texans fan.
Very true. Very true.
Just commit to the Boston way. All right, go full Patriots. Go full everything.
Rob, it's a futile effort. You don't know how long I've known Pat and how long I've tried to make this conversation go. It isn't an easy one by any measure.
Well, no, but now I have the upper hand. What exactly are you going to provide me with a 7-9 season?
Have you seen Mac Jones' stomach? It is a work of art.
Mac Jones will lead you to the playoffs next year. You heard this first. You heard this here first. Mac Jones is going to be the next Tom Brady.
I mean, like I said, have you seen that stomach? All right. White and unathletic. That is the perfect recipe. No, I can't say that. That's terrible. Cut that out.
Oh, Jesus.
Cut that out. I was just comparing him to Tom Brady. Cut that out.
Oh, Jesus. But, obviously there is a lot of big things going on with baseball and a lot of things going on with that. But, some other things that I wanted to cover in MLB was the fact that, the Chicago White Sox, we've talked about, all the City Connect jerseys on this show so far, as well as Roberts as well. But we talked about the Miami Marlins jerseys just very recently on this show. But the Chicago White Sox just revealed their new City Connect jerseys. It's like the colors, they're not doing anything kind of crazy like what the Red Sox and Marlins did, but it's these really nice black uniforms and they have like this really nice white text to them. It looks looks kind of old fashioned, but it's like really nice looking. I really like them. Very quickly, how do you guys feel about them?
I love them. I think it fits. The simplicity is blue collar. I like the shy on the hat. It's just a cooler version of the White Sox uniforms. And I think the White Sox, especially the home ones, already have one of the nicest uniforms in the league. I think it fits the brand that the White Sox wants to go for, and it looks menacing. It's a good uniform all around. I like Miami's. It fit the city. It was warm. It was vibrant. We're talking about Chicago. This is a great fit for the city. And if you want a City Connect jersey to work, it does. It fits the city.
Yeah.
I'm giving it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
I mean, this, like we had talked about before, this is something that I would assume that the Yankees would come out with. You were saying, I don't know how they're going to bring the pinstripes into a City Connect jersey. And I was thinking they were just going to revert the colors, do black with white pinstripes. That was exactly what I thought. But I do like it. It's clean. It is very, very clean. Simple and clean is sometimes the best combination for a jersey. Like I said, if you do too much, you try and end up like those Dallas Mavericks graffiti jerseys that everybody hates, but they still wear. Giving it an 8 out of 10.
You're working with a black and white logo. You did exactly what you should do with a black and white logo.
Yeah, don't go crazy with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you would say this is probably like your second favorite of the jerseys?
This is only the third one we've seen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like Marlins, I'm going to give a 9 out of 10. These I'm going to give an 8. The Red Sox ones, I'm going to give about a 4.5.
Pat, you want to respond to that?
I think all three were very good. I'd rate it opposite of the order that we've seen. I think this is third. I think it's deserving of being among the best. I think that Miami fit. I've never been to Miami, but you could just tell the bright, vibrant, colorful jerseys. It fit the clubhouse. It fit the city. It was a vibe. It was good. It worked. I like Boston's. And what I didn't like was that they released Boston's first, because that's not a good way to market the City Connect jerseys, because nobody outside of New England is going to understand the significance of the blue and yellow. But as a guy from Boston, as a guy who was on the marathon track, not at the finish line, but on the marathon track when the bombs went off, and seeing how that team took the Boston Marathon colors, took the city's colors, and put the city on their back. I think that the Red Sox have forever sort of immersed themselves in the blue and yellow. I think that it works. It's just, and my favorite colors are blue and yellow, so I'm partial there too, but it's something that people outside of New England aren't going to understand, and you shouldn't have put that first. But because of the significance of the marathon colors, putting that with Boston right across on the City Connect jerseys, again, you want to connect to the city, you did a good job. The rest of the country might not get it, but I think that they hit the mark on that one, and they were really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you did mention the idea of not thinking it was the best idea to market it. I think that, maybe it didn't really show what the City Connect jerseys were meant to be. I think it was kind of the perfect idea for marketing, because you get it out there and it's this crazy design that no one would ever expect for the Red Sox, and you get it out there and it's trending on Twitter, it's trending nationally. Like, it was like a big deal when it came out. It was like, did you see the new Red Sox jerseys? And I mean, to get people talking about MLB like that, but I do see your point where it's like you see these jerseys and it's just like, is it going to look like this? Is it going to be like these like rapid changes for all these? I think all the jerseys are solid. I think that, the Red Sox, it's definitely the wackiest of all the ones, because it's just like the most, like, the most different from like what we've seen, especially with it being, with their name being the Red Sox. So I think that threw a lot of people off. Even if the White Sox had played in Boston, I think you'd be able to get away with it just for that situation of just being able to like throw some white in there with the jersey. But I think all the jerseys are solid so far. I would probably put Boston's third, but I think they're all pretty solid. Going off of that, kind of a mockery of the City Connect jerseys that we've now seen throughout baseball came with New Era. So I feel like New Era was trying to kind of take the vibe of the Nike City Connect jerseys and were trying to do their own thing with it. So New Era came out and they were planning to release these quote unquote local market caps, and essentially they were supposed to kind of like reflect like key parts of the city and do all this, and like have like key insignias of all that. And these things got ridiculed to the high heavens. It was so bad because people came out and just said like it literally looks like a kid like took stickers out of a box and just stuck them on the hat. Because I mean, it's one thing of it trying to be like, hey, if we put the area codes on, like if you put a 617 on a Boston hat, maybe in the back, that'd look cool, I think, or doing something like very simple like that. Even having like the marathon logo on a Boston hat, I think that would look kind of cool. But the people that did this did the most basic kind of looking hats. I had shown Pat a couple of these beforehand. All the West Coast hats just had tacos on them. It was for the city of Pittsburgh. There was literally just a steel beam on the hat, like just right next to the Pittsburgh sign.
Baltimore had Edgar Allan Poe's face. I mean, the guy was from Baltimore, but there's nothing else you can do.
Come on, man. That's how little people like Baltimore.
It's not even like his famous poem is The Raven too. I get if
there's a football team named after the Raven.
Yeah, exactly. This is the Orioles.
Every single California team had a taco on theirs.
That's a little racist.
They're from 4 different cities. Who thought it was good? And beyond that, there wasn't any flow to it. The Red Sox Connect jerseys, there was some flow. The jersey itself didn't look bad. If you didn't like yellow, you didn't like blue, whatever. The jerseys didn't look bad. This looks literally like you gave an elementary school class stickers to put on, and it was, oh, here, Bobby, here's your project for the day. You have to design a hat for the Red Sox. What things about Boston are you going to put on it?
Oh, some beans. I don't know. I'm going to put just the state itself on there. Thinking.
I'm going to put a poet from the 1800s on here.
Yeah, that's good job, Bobby. You paid attention in the history part of our class. You get an A. That's not a, hey, I'm a designer and I'm going to design a hat. I'm a marketer. I'm going to market the hat. This is going to go well.
No, here's the problem.
Who signed off on that?
I was about to say, here's the problem. Not only did somebody design that and think and look at it and say to themselves, I made something good. Somebody had to look at it and finalize saying, you made something good. It had to go through at least 2 levels of confirmation. How does it get past level 1?
It's terrible.
You can't. If a hat doesn't look good, a hat doesn't look good. Do you still put it on the market? Maybe. There are logos that people don't like, whatever. But what gets me is Baltimore's not special. We can't think of anything except for Alexander Poe to put on a hat. Oh, there's nothing individual about each city in California. San Diego and Oakland, the same thing. We're putting a taco on both of them. That's what gets me. It's like borderline offensive to the city and the fan base. That you can't think of anything else to put.
There's nothing else about us. Like, really? It's actually really bad. And I think New Era got the message, because I don't think there was like a single person that was in support of these hats. People were making like jokes about it, and like the Cincinnati Reds hat ended up having a quote from that announcer that got fired, and it just goes, "I pride myself in being a man of faith." And that'll be a deep drive to left field by Castellanos. It'll be a home run, and that'll be a 4-0 ball game. Someone just wrote that on the back of the Cincinnati cap, and then just said, "Hey guys, the Cincinnati cap's all right." So I mean, people were having a lot of fun with it, and New Era just got it, and they just took it down. So it shows that when you ridicule something enough, you do get the results you want. And but that's kind of what we had in MLB news. In PGA news, which, Rob, I know you don't. I know you're not a big golf guy, right?
Not really, no.
Yeah, no. You had mentioned it on the show. I did just want to give a bit of a shout out to Phil Mickelson. The man is 50 years old, and he just won the PGA Championship. So Phil, you got your props here.
I think it was the 6th guy in the past 100 years to lead a major at any point in 4 different decades.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen in any other sport. The longevity.
Yeah, it's remarkable what he was able to do. I did just want to give him some props for that, because I mean, to be able, I mean, it's also, I think, like the longest like streak, and like obviously he won stuff in between that, but like from like when he won his first major at like 20, I believe it was in 91 to when he won this one at 50. It's like the again, the longevity of this guy's career, it's remarkable. And I did just want to give a shout out to that in golf. But you know, one of the main things that I did want to talk about was Capital One announced that the match 4 is going to be going down. And you know, the match 1 between Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson, I remember you and I, we watched it, kind of, you know, watched like the tail end of it, and it was kind of a fun little thing. Ended in a draw, so it wasn't really that great to see. You wish it had gone longer, but it got too dark for anyone to really see what was going on. But then the match 2 obviously took place during the COVID-19 pandemic, kind of like right in the middle of it. It was like the only sporting thing on TV, and had Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Phil, and then Tiger again, and it was really fun to see. And I really enjoyed it. And you know, I think for a lot of people, it was nice to just have some sports back on TV for the first time in a while.
100%.
And I think in the match 3, it was like Steph Curry and Charles Barkley. It wasn't really as well televised for it, and I don't think it was marketed as well. But for this one, I am really interested. So on July 6th, it's going to be Tom Brady. He's going to be back again. He's going to be with Phil again, but the teams this time, it's going to be Aaron Rodgers, Pat's guy, and Bryson DeChambeau. They're going to be teaming up against him. And I'm pretty interested about this, especially because there's been some beef now between Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka. They're kind of going back and forth at each other right now.
Yeah, I don't know really where that came from. I don't know if they have a rivalry.
I don't either.
Pre-existing. I know Brooks Koepka and Aaron Rodgers are pretty friendly.
Yeah.
So that would have been a fun matchup to see, but DeChambeau is just a tank.
Yeah.
That guy can put it on the green on a par 4. So Rodgers got to be the sharpshooter he is on a football field, and they're in pretty good shape.
Yeah. If he can tap into that, it'll be interesting, especially because, you know, Brady's timeout during the match 2 wasn't that spectacular. He did have that really nice hole from I think it was like 117 out or something like that. He had a really nice one like that. But
didn't he rip his pants at one point too?
He might have. I forget. There was like some joke about that going down. I forget. So
put it on the highlight reel.
But yeah,
just imagine with the Brady Rodgers thing. Like I said, Brady's going hard with the trash talk right now, and it is hilarious to see.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you said before the show,
Brady's sitting here popping off on Twitter, trying to do anything he can to get Aaron Rodgers riled up, and he just doesn't care. He's at a wedding in Hawaii, missing OTAs, just posting nonstop with Miles Teller for some reason, just living his best life, going up requesting music, and then taking pictures with the DJ. And he just doesn't have a care in the world about Tom Brady right now.
When you know you're about to leave Wisconsin, I'd be pretty happy too.
Yeah.
We'll see how that ends up.
We'll see Aaron Rodgers in a new uniform.
We'll have to see.
The Packers got to okay it. That's the biggest hurdle, and the Packers aren't going to okay it. So he might retire.
He might,
or he might just come back. I mean, I'm not putting much stock in the OTAs. He's not there. He's at a wedding. It's voluntary.
Yeah.
The whole receiving core isn't there. That's more concerning for me. We'll see once July rolls around whether or not.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers
the biggest question I have is what teams are really interested in him. Obviously the Broncos.
I don't understand how any team can call any trade for Aaron Rodgers a win. We're going to ask for too much for it to be worth it for you. Maybe if he was 32, Deshaun Watson, aside from all the off-the-field issues, much younger. If you have a clean slate in your personal life, that guy's got 10 or 12 years left.
Yeah.
That trade would be worth it. Aaron Rodgers, I mean, you're going to have to give away way too much. You have to be in a win-now mode to have Aaron Rodgers. The Packers are in a win-now mode. But to get Aaron Rodgers, if you're any other team, you're going to have to give up pieces from that win-now mode, and I just don't understand how it's worth it.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, you know, especially to acquire him like that. I mean, I don't know what it's going to take to get Aaron Rodgers. I mean, what is it going to cost? At least a first, I'd have to say. I mean, it's going to...
Oh, you're going to have to trade away stars. You're going to have to trade away multiple draft picks. At least one
it's going to be like a Herschel Walker type trade, I feel like.
You might have to give away your quarterback.
It could be that bad.
No. For a 38-year-old?
I mean, it's Aaron Rodgers.
I know it's Aaron
Rodgers. If you want him, you want him.
Yeah, if it turns into a bidding war, it could get that bad.
If it turns to a bidding war, yes. But realistically, though, what are the teams would throw in their hat to get Rodgers? The Broncos, or one.
The bidding war to me doesn't mean anything. It's not a fact that you have to outbid somebody else. It's that you have to convince the guys who already have him, or you're not going to get him.
Yeah.
So either we'll see Rodgers retire, we'll see Rodgers stay in the Packers uniform, whether that's because they worked out their issues or whether it's because no other team could put up enough to convince the Packers to lose him. Or we'll see Aaron Rodgers get traded for a package that was monumental enough to move the Packers from their position right now, which is Mark Murphy saying we're not going to trade him, Matt LaFleur saying he doesn't want him to be traded, and even the infamous Brian Gutekunst is saying I'm not going to trade him.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to flip all three of those guys' minds in order to get him, which means that you're going to have to give up a lot if you want to see Rodgers in any uniform other than the Packers next year. I think retirement is more likely than a trade at this point.
I see that.
Yeah, and I think that concludes what we had like in the PGA kind of segment going forward. Yeah. Yeah. You have something to say?
Rodgers and DeChambeau are going to shock the world.
All right.
Just watch.
Rob, you going the opposite end there?
You can never bet against Brady. It doesn't matter what sport.
After seeing his golf game, I'm a little skeptical, but
Aaron Rodgers, greatest quarterback of all time. In the offseason, in the offseason,
all right, Rob, it was good.
In the offseason, buys a part of the Milwaukee Bucks and is competing for a title in a different sport. You're telling me that versatility won't lend itself on the golf course? Come on now. Come on now.
Whose man's is this? Somebody get your man's, please.
I'm sorry, Rob. This is your first interaction with Pat, so you have officially met him now. So, going off that, though, I think staying in the NFL, it is appropriate that we do talk about this. I'm very surprised that I haven't talked about it on the show yet, but I was doing interviews, I think, at the time that I was doing that, the story broke. But Julio Jones might be, it's being reported now, via himself that he is out of Atlanta. He went on Undisputed with Shannon Sharpe and Skip Bayless. And Shannon Sharpe literally calls him during the middle of the show and asks him whether he's going to leave. And he responds, "Yeah, bro, I'm out of there." Rob, you've said that you think this is like one of the coldest moments in kind of sports TV history.
It's amazing. I loved it. Just because, like, what other show could you realistically just call the person and say, "Hey, is this true?"
Yeah,
not
and them actually.
No.
I wish. Brian and I did get a little bit of an exclusive saying that the Little Spinners might be back next year.
Yeah, that was a pretty interesting thing to hear.
We had
Lowell Spinners might be returning.
Lowell Spinners.
Yeah, we had Will Dalton come on, and I was saying how much I missed them, and he's like, "They'll be back, don't you worry."
Yeah.
Is this coming from a confirmed source, or what are we talking about here?
The more baseball there is, the better, and it doesn't matter how. And if it's anything that's involved with the Red Sox, that's just an extra level. The more baseball there is, the better.
Exactly. So I think kind of getting those inside scoops. It's really nice to hear them sometimes when you get an inside scoop. So when we're hearing that the Lowell Spinners might be returning, we have an inside scoop from a former minor leaguer. It's pretty exciting to hear. But with this thing, with the whole Julio thing, I gotta think that if Julio didn't know that he was being recorded, which frankly, if he didn't know that we were going on, that if Shannon Sharpe is calling you in the morning that hey, he might be on his show right now, probably don't pick up unless you don't want to answer that question, then that's on him. But if he actually had no idea about it, that's like really bad journalistic malpractice on Shannon Sharpe's end. Like that's really bad. I think to call him like that and not even to call him and like to put him on speakerphone like that, it's not a great look, I think, for Shannon. But it's, I don't know. I think both ends look bad with it.
Mm-hmm. But at the same time, this news was gonna leak sooner or later. What's probably gonna happen is either Julio Jones knew he was on air and just said it and he's gonna get fined, or he's not gonna know. And what's the NFL gonna do? They can't really do anything about it.
Exactly.
I willingly Julio Jones for this. Was it kind of a snake move by Shannon Sharpe? Yeah, probably.
Especially to call him his favorite.
Everybody else on the show.
My thing is, it doesn't make a difference whether he's on a show or not. You're going to tell a television host what you're doing and expect him to, even if he's not on air right now, expect him to not go on air in 30 minutes and say, hey, I just got off the phone with Julio Jones. He says he's leaving Atlanta. And all of a sudden, now that's the whole news cycle. And then 2 weeks later, you can deny it all you want. If you leave Atlanta, he could sit there and go, I was right. I actually did call him. So at what point is this Julio's fault?
Yeah.
Is that sly journalism, to say the least, from Shannon Sharp's point of view? Sure. But why would Julio Jones ever definitively say what he's going to do?
Yeah.
Because even if he's not on air, he has the ability then with that knowledge to go on and say, hey, guess what I just found out, and get the same kind of ratings and cause the same kind of trouble for Julio and the Falcons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's just a very, very complicated matter right now. I'm not sure how it's going to end up working out. I would love Julio Jones to be a New England Patriot, though. I mean, for all the faults that he's been going for, whether it's his fault or not, I'd love to see him catch passes from, I know he wants to catch passes from Cam Newton, but, Mac Jones, I think could, do him well up here. I'd love to see him up here. I think, that would be the chef's kiss for this offense. I think we need a number one receiver. That's the one thing we're missing with this offense. And I don't know how much Bill would be willing to give up with it. I mean, you saw how much he was willing to spend this offseason in terms of money, but he really likes to hold on to those draft picks. And, when I'm looking at it, I feel like you have to just say, like, all right, is what I'm getting in return, equal to what I'm giving up here? And if you look at the production of what Julio Jones brings to an offense compared to what a late first round pick might bring you, I think it is very worth it. And I would give the first round pick that Atlanta's looking for in order to get him, I think.
I mean, one team has already come out and said, yeah, it wasn't said what team, but it's already reported that one team has already come up to him and said, yes, we'll give you a first round pick for Julio straight up. Don't know what team. Could be the Patriots, but
could very well be the Patriots. It could be like a Brandon Cooks type trade where they acquired him for a first straight up. I feel like for Julio there might have to be a little extra, but I think right now it's between the Patriots and the Titans in the Julio sweepstakes.
Now, I just want to preface this and say that I do not endorse this trade whatsoever. But I saw something on Instagram this morning that said NFL GMs should do a NBA type trade where there's just huge packages with 3 teams. And it was between the Packers, the Browns, and the Falcons. And it had Matt Ryan and Julio Jones going to the Packers. Aaron Rodgers is getting shipped to Cleveland for some reason. Cleveland's parting ways with Baker Mayfield. 5 or 6 first round picks were getting flown around. And the mental math on that one.
It's like
also to pull in 3 competitors, except for the fact that the Falcons aren't a competitor if you take away their 2 best players.
Yeah.
It was so out there. I don't know who in their right minds would accept it. But I had fun doing the mental math of
trying to see if that trying to see how that equals out.
So we'll give up a 38-year-old quarterback, but in return we'll get a 35-year-old quarterback with a 32-year-old receiver, but it's okay because we're somehow getting 3 first-round picks out of this. I mean, yeah, I guess I take that deal.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll take it, but like,
don't know why Cleveland would do that, but I'll take it.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Like that stuff just does not make sense.
And here's the thing, I'm a fan of those 3-team trades. Like those are always exciting. You know, especially in the NBA when we get something as big as like a 4-team deal with the James Harden thing and trying to like connect the dots to see which teams got better and which teams got worse.
It's like, wait, who got Oladipo?
Yeah. Oladipo is somewhere injured in Miami now because that deal really worked out for Houston. Good job, Houston.
But somehow Kelly Olynyk became the key piece of the Houston Rockets.
Screw Kelly Olynyk, the Canadian female. Actually, I love Kelly Olynyk and his time at the Celtics. That dude was awesome. But
I basketball guy moment, pulling out Kelly Olynyk stats from 2014 Celtics.
hey, 2016. All right, he popped off against the Hawks in the playoffs. Don't even start with me.
The Hawks were in the playoffs.
Him, Marcus Smart. That was the year they were the 1 seed, 16 and 22.
Oh yeah.
It was him, Marcus Smart, and Jonas Jerebko. And if anyone out there knows the name Jonas Jerebko, you're an OG because he's still.
I mean, how do you not know Jonas Jerebko?
I do not know Jonas Jerebko.
Jonas Jerebko.
Exactly.
Okay.
I was not lying to you. I don't know who that guy is.
Oh really?
Okay, then where does he play now?
I thought he was on the Warriors.
That was 3 years ago, but good try.
Well, then I'm screwed. He probably plays overseas now, and I probably have not seen him for years.
Correct. He played 1 year with the Warriors with that dream team with DeMarcus Cousins, then spent a season with the Jazz for God knows why, and now is back in Sweden.
Makes sense. But, kind of going that's crazy to see, like, how crazy that guy's career. My God.
He gave the Hawks 25 and I believe 6 threes in a playoff game. So don't even start.
Jonas Trepko. What? That's a name, though. That is a name. I will give you that. But kind of now going away from the NFL with those like large tier trades, and maybe looking at a guy like Julio Jones. I think it is appropriate too that we acknowledge the career of one Adam Vinatieri, who just recently announced his retirement from the game of football. Vinatieri he spent 10 years in New England and then 14 years as an Indianapolis Colt. What do you guys think about Vinatieri's legacy? Then you guys can circle it back to me. But Pat, I'll have you start first.
Pat McAfee summed up perfectly. In a sport where the entire point is to outscore your opponent, and the team with the most points and the most scores wins the game and wins the league, being the all-time scorer automatically makes you the GOAT. And I'm sad to see this guy go. I don't believe he played last year.
He did not.
Yeah. He went out on the Pat McAfee show, which was great for the Pat McAfee show.
Yeah, that was
perfect
awesome
for him
it.
Because he went out for his holder for 7-8 years.
Yeah.
But, I mean, sad to see him go, but he's leaving one of the best legacies that a special teams player has ever left in the long history of the sport. You want to talk about, he's up there with names like George Blanda, who part of the reason why he's relevant is because he was also a quarterback.
Yeah.
This guy did it entirely as a kicker, and he did it better than anybody else.
Yeah.
The GOAT.
Yeah. Rob?
Yep. It's that simple. Greatest of all time. Longevity, consistency. Two, what you call it, the two key factors of being a good kicker in the league is you need to be able to do it accurately and consistently for a long time. And he was the true definition of that. I'm just glad that I was able to see two of the greatest kickers ever with Vinatieri and Kazowski on.
It's remarkable.
The Patriots, yeah.
Let's not forget his time with the Patriots, too. Not only was he accurate, not only was he consistent, he was clutch.
Yeah.
He doesn't get enough credit for giving you guys Super Bowls. He won 4 of them, and he played a huge part. How many Super Bowls can you say the kicker played a huge part in? Adam Vinatieri is one of those guys.
I mean, you can bring him Norwood for the Bills, but in the wrong sense.
This guy
was a bad kick away. The Vikings.
Yeah.
This guy was a bad kick away from being Blair Walsh, Cody Parkey, Norwood. But he made the kicks. He's clutch as hell. Never mind he's the highest scoring. He's one of the most accurate. He's one of the longest tenured players. In literally any facet you could name, he's the guy to beat.
Yeah, it's remarkable to see what he did. I mean, to see that Tom Brady was able to stick around to win 6 Super Bowl rings is impressive enough as it is, but to realize that, it's quite possible that had Adam Vinatieri not gone to Indianapolis, we could have seen him in many of the scenarios we saw Stephen Kazowski. And Stephen Kazowski, I think, is a great kicker all in his own. I think what he did for the Patriots was also electric. But I think just to acknowledge what he did, or to think that if Adam Vinatieri could have been in all those moments, there's not a doubt in my mind that he wouldn't have made those kicks, even at his old age. Like, I mean, he was clutch his entire career, and I think that the fact that he could have almost stuck around as long as Brady and Belichick did is remarkable in my mind. But not to take away from him as well, I think that him as a kicker, he was insanely clutch. I think that he, again, was, an epitome to the beginning of this dynasty, had been around, before Brady and all those guys even got here, was a key part in even our Super Bowl, and even helping us get to the Super Bowl against your Packers in Super Bowl 31. He was on the Patriots at that point. I think that might've been his rookie season, but
I think he's the last tenured guy from that Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically your dad going out and kicking 50-yard field goals and making them.
Oh. I mean, hey, I wouldn't doubt my dad in that situation, but I mean, I here's the thing. My dad, though, he is 7 years older than Adam Vinatieri. So, Dad, I'm sorry about that. So, obviously, you're not gonna be able to go out there and do that. So, but obviously, Adam Vinatieri, legend of the sport, and it's sad to see him go, but to see him go out on his own terms and just say you know what, I'm done with this. I've had a great career, and now he's getting ready to coach his own kid with it, and he seems to be enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we haven't seen the last of him.
Hopefully we haven't. I hope to see him back in the NFL some more. But that concludes what we have in NFL news. Really quickly, in both the NHL and NBA, I did want to just cover how our Boston sports are doing so far. So in the NHL so far, our Boston Bruins, since we this is at least one team that we all can root for. We obviously Pat kind of does get us with the Packers every now and then, kind of screws us all over with it. But when it isn't football season, we don't want to tear each other's heads off. We are very ecstatic Bruins fans, so go Bruins.
Don't let the boys get hot. Bruins of 5, baby.
So yeah, obviously I'm a huge Bruins fan. I love seeing playoff hockey. Here's the thing. When I'm watching regular season hockey on TV, it's just tough for me to get engaged with it. But hockey at any level, if you get me in person at the arena, I can get engaged with it, and I really love watching hockey in person. But then playoff hockey, I can kind of engage with it more on the TV just because of the atmosphere that's usually involved with it. With COVID, it's been a little more difficult. I didn't really watch a ton of the bubble when it came to playoff hockey, but now that you're seeing some fans back in the stands and getting riled up, it's been fun to watch.
The TD Garden is an electric factory.
Yeah, I went to the Bruins game 2, I believe it was, against the Columbus Blue Jackets. It was through the roof. Pat, I know when we had our varsity baseball season, we had a bunch of the kids on our team were on the high school hockey team, and it seemed like tradition almost after every single game, kids would. I mean, we had a "Go Bruins" chant on our team.
I go to college in New York. I am surrounded by Islanders,
Gross.
Rangers, and Devils fans. We wanted to do a fantasy hockey league. I know next to nothing about hockey outside of the Bruins. My entire fantasy hockey league consisted of Bruins players and Zdeno Chara. I won games. You're not supposed to do that with a team made up of all one club. I won games with the Bruins. That's how good they are. Don't let the boys get hot. Bruins of 5.
Rob, how do you feel about the Bruins?
I mean, like I said, I'm not too much of a hockey guy. I saw they did beat the Capitals, so and it sucks to see Zdeno Chara on the team.
It's terrible.
Yeah,
especially the team that we play in the postseason.
Yeah,
first round. Yeah, that was just depressing. Like, how old's he now? 43, 44?
I think 43. Yeah.
You want to talk about Vinatieri?
I mean,
think about how physical hockey is. This
Yeah.
guy's playing it at 42, 43. This guy's been there for a quarter of a century.
And don't forget that this guy's doing it at like 6'9". He's LeBron's height on skates.
He's chugging along.
Yeah.
Who's what was the dude?
He's Achilles.
What was that guy's name that was in the league too? He was like 50.
Yager.
Is that his name?
I mean, he probably was, but I was thinking more about Gordie Howe.
Yes, him too. But no, this was recent. He played for the Bruins for a little bit. Played for the Panthers. No, Panthers. Like I said, I've been out of the loop on hockey, but
yeah,
he played till he was like 46, 47.
I think that the summary of Zdeno Chara is if you can be put in the same conversation as Mr. Hockey in any sense,
yeah,
you probably accomplished a little bit.
Yeah,
on the rink.
just a
little bit,
just a tad bit. And while I don't know the most about hockey, I love watching playoff hockey, and I hope that the Bruins continue the success. I don't think it's been released yet who they're going to face in the second round. I think they're still trying to work out the seeding for that, but I am excited to see how that works out. But that was like a little NHL segment I did want to include. Maybe if I get our assistant baseball coach Casey comes back on the show, I'll talk some hockey with him.
I'll love to talk about the Bruins.
Yeah.
I know next to nothing about hockey, but I'll talk for hours, and it won't make sense. But it doesn't matter. Bruins of 5.
I love
I'll
it.
say it till I die.
And with the NBA, which is what I'm better on, the Celtics suck. Let's move on.
They're terrible. Yeah, no, I did want to just cover it quickly because we're down 2-0 to the Brooklyn Nets. It looks like we're playing a preseason game out there. I mean, not having Jaylen Brown out there it doesn't help our cause. But I mean, it's been just atrocious so far.
I'm interested to see how the Garden handles Kyrie back. You've seen Kyrie out there making accusations, and the city of Boston getting pretty mad at the accusations that he has made.
Yeah.
You've seen former players and coaches. Brad Stevens even said something about some of the accusations he's made. I want to see Kyrie get riled.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see how bad it is.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's good or bad how they're going to treat him, but I mean that's going to be noteworthy.
No, it's going to be intriguing to see how it happens, especially with Game 3. Is Game 3 tonight?
Yes.
Yeah, so I believe Game 3 is tonight, but it's only going to be at 5,000 fans, so it's still going to be at the COVID capacity because all the COVID restrictions in Massachusetts gets lifted tomorrow. So I'm just like, it's like you couldn't have just done it one day prior, and the Garden couldn't have been packed tonight, because I'm just like, that's what that kind of does suck about it, because we're only probably going to get one game at full capacity after kind of seeing how this series is going.
Honestly, that's probably better. We just saw what happened with Russell Westbrook too,
and with Trae Young in New York. Trae Young got spit on.
Yeah, these fans, rightfully so, I think, should let Kyrie hear it a little bit. I don't think he treated the city of Boston well at all. But these fans need to be on their best behavior.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you're talking about emotions are going to run high. He's already saying things, and we're already having fans do some pretty terrible things.
Yeah.
You need to treat him with dignity. Let him hear it, but treat him with dignity. I think a smaller crowd is going to make it a little bit easier to do that.
Yeah.
The first night back.
Yeah, the first night back. It'll allow him to kind of hear it at first. It'll be that second night. That'll be the real test, I think, to see what goes down there.
Yeah.
That'll kind of be the real test.
Can I backtrack for 1 second real quick?
Yeah, go
Going
for
back to the Julio Jones news. A Patriots trade has been announced by an unofficial source, but this is what they're saying, is that the Patriots offered Sony Michel and a first-round pick for Julio Jones in a fourth.
Really?
Wow.
That's insane, Rob. I'm glad you did go back to that news, because that's actually crazy that broke during kind of almost the end of this show.
Broke 20 minutes ago.
Wow, that is crazy to hear. I mean, that almost kind of broke during our Julio segment, but to hear that, wow. I mean,
what are your thoughts on that as Patriot fans?
I'm down for it. Sony Michel hasn't been giving us anything great.
Yeah,
2019 he was great, but then 2020 just wasn't that good. He can definitely go up on the rise again, but getting someone like Julio Jones, I do think it's worth it, and it gives guys like Devin White more time.
Yeah, here's how I feel about it. So I mean, Sony Michel, obviously during the run for our sixth Lombardi, he was nails for us. I mean, he had so many clutch moments, especially in that. I mean, he had the nice run and touchdown in the Super Bowl. But if you look back against his divisional round game against the Chargers, he was outstanding. I think he had 3 touchdowns that game. He was electric for us and was a key part in us winning that game. Obviously, it wasn't close towards the end, but he was a really big part of that offense for us during that postseason. 2020 again, he had knee issues coming out of Georgia, and I think that he is probably gonna start slowing down. Unfortunately, I mean, it's been weird. I've watched Sony Michel run, and when he ran in that 2018 postseason, or 2019 rather, he ran with authority, and it looked like he was always getting ready to run through a brick wall. Now when he gets the ball, he does the bread basket, or kind of just he carries it, and he kind of tippy toes around the offensive lineman looking for the blocks to open up for it, and it's just and it's tough to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and plus, like I said, having Julio Jones on this team, gonna be something nice.
That'd be interesting if it does come to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're the Falcons, do you accept it?
I mean, if I'm the Falcons, I mean, if they're asking only for the first round pick, I'd go for it.
I do. An aging wide receiver for a first round pick. You're not in a win now situation.
Yeah.
So
it's the idea though of if that's the only competition though, if the Titans were able to offer something better, because Sony Michel, again, I'm listing some of the downsides to him as a running back. Obviously, running backs in the league, are fairly expendable. I mean, we did just draft a guy, I believe, out of Oklahoma, Deshaun Stevenson, I believe is his name, but I could be wrong there.
In the 5th, I think.
Yeah, and he could be we drafted James White as a 4th round running back. So, Bill has been able to have success with running backs in those kind of positions in the later rounds. So it will be interesting to see how he develops. It might be like a Damian Harris situation where we don't see him year 1, but year 2, he has a bigger impact on this team. So I don't know. I think I would do the move. I like it.
I'm fine with it too. I'd be more than happy.
Yeah, but Rob, I'm very glad that you did get that news across, and obviously it came during that NBA segment, and we did kind of close that off. But I think without further ado, it is time to say that we are down to the wire, which means that we're going to go through everything we talked about in this episode and wrap it up and send you guys off into the weekend. We started things off on the show talking about Josh Donaldson getting ready to release a report on any pitchers in baseball releasing using foreign substances. We talked about the implications that could have for baseball and all the players involved with that. We then proceeded to talk about the new Chicago White Sox City Connect jerseys, and we gave our thoughts on that as well as rankings. We talked about New Era pulling down their local market caps, which, frankly, are just a poor excuse for City Connect jerseys. In PGA, we talked about Phil Mickelson winning the PGA Championship at 50, as well as Capital One's the match 4 feet, giving our thoughts on the match 4 with Brady, Rodgers, DeChambeau, and Mickelson again, being featured in that. We also kind of talked about the Brooks Koepka DeChambeau rivalry going on right now. Not too sure about what's going on there, but it's fun nonetheless. In NFL news, we talked about the Julio Jones trade, which you guys are now hearing about, and everything going down there, as well as Adam Vinatieri retiring from the NFL. And then we ended off talking about Bruins and Celtics and how they're doing respectively in their playoff series. Rob, thank you again so much for coming on the show, man. I really do appreciate it. Pat, same with you here. I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me, Brian. Rob, the pleasure was all on this side of the table. Nice to meet you.
Always a pleasure, guys.
Yeah. But without any further ado, I did want to just say that it was a great episode. I was glad to have these two guys over here. I didn't think I was going to be able to have Pat be able to hear Rob on this show. I was having like some audio issues, so to the fact that I was able to work, I was like thank God, because that was almost going to be a big issue for me. But Rob, again, thank you guys so much for coming on the show. And I shouted out all the social media at the beginning of it. So from Down to the Wire, I'm Brian Costa.
I'm Pat Edwards.
I'm Robert Shelley.
And thank you guys so much for listening. We will see you guys next time.
Peace.